Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show. Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and in this episode I'm joined by co-host Mick Ramsey. From one of rock and roll's most iconic bands of all time comes the debut album that brought a gritty edge and a punk rock sensibility to a scene dominated by hair metal, redefining hard rock for a new generation and solidifying Guns N' Roses as a top-selling act which, like the album itself, stands the test of time. We're talking about Appetite for Destruction. Appetite for Destruction was released on the Geffen label on July 21st, 1987, and is the debut studio album of Los Angeles-based metal band Guns N' Roses. This album featured the classic GNR lineup of Axl Rose on lead vocals, Slash on lead guitar, Duff McKagan on bass, Izzy Stradlin on rhythm guitar, and Steven Adler on drums. The bulk of the songs that appear on Appetite for Destruction were written during the band's time on the LA club scene. Some of the songs considered for Appetite but did not make the cut included Don't Cry, You Could Be Mine, and November Rain, all of which were featured on later albums. GNR considered a few different producers for the album early in the process, including Jeff Mutt Lange, who produced AC/DC and Def Leppard among others, as well as Paul Stanley from Kiss. Mike Klink, who produced several albums by Canadian hard rock band Triumph, was eventually chosen to helm the project. The album's recording saw each band member step up, including Slash, who initially struggled to find a guitar sound that suited the record. He finally decided on the Gibson Les Paul plugged into a Marshall amp, which became his signature sound. Lead singer Axl Rose insisted on recording his vocals one line at a time, causing the rest of the frustrated band to leave the studio as he worked. Many of Appetite's tracks were actually solo songs written separately by members of the band, which were later completed with the group for the record. It's So Easy was a Duff McKagan song, Think About You was from Izzy Stradlin, and Rocket Queen was a Slash, Duff, and Steven Adler tune from their first band, Road Crew. The original cover art for the album was a Robert Williams painting entitled Appetite for Destruction, which depicted a robotic rapist about to be punished by a metal avenger. Several music retailers refused to carry the album because of this, and the record label instead decided to go with the famous Celtic cross and 5 skulls, representing the members of GNR. Appetite for Destruction was not an immediate hit with critics or fans, many of whom rejected the album due to its sex, drugs, and rock and roll vibe, all of which seemed to be outdated themes in the late 80s metal. But after a year of touring and the rise in popularity of Welcome to the Jungle, Sweet Child of Mine, and Paradise City, the album became a massive commercial success. Appetite for Destruction is the best-selling debut of all time. It's also the 11th best-selling album in the United States, one of the best-selling records ever, and has sold over 30 million copies worldwide. It is now regarded by fans and critics alike as one of the greatest albums in rock and roll history. And that's the lowdown on Appetite for Destruction. I love the album deep dives. And I guess what I love about them the most is that it really gives you and I a chance to connect on music that we're both fans of. I mean, let's face it, it wouldn't make a lot of sense if we chose an album that you were really into but I had either not heard or didn't care for, or vice versa. I mean, it only makes sense that we pick something that we both groove to, maybe something we grew up with, or something that we both pretty much are in agreement on. And I would say that's definitely the case this time. Appetite for Destruction is, to me, one of the most classic rock and roll albums of all time. And I've really been listening to it the past couple of days in preparation for this particular episode. And it's not like I've forgotten it, but when you sit down and commit yourself to this record and just don't do anything else, don't watch TV, don't go about your day, but just kick your feet up and listen to this. First of all, good luck sitting still, because you hardly can't. I can't, because you just want to get up and just, mosh pit. I never mosh pit in my life, Greg, but I dare say I could probably pull it off with this album, because it's just the energy, the vibe. I mean, dude, hit me. I mean, what's your take on this album? Right out the gate, what's your take on it?
Oh man, it's a dangerous album. It's a very wild ride. I've been listening to it all week long, back and forth to work, and like you, I had forgotten how great it was. But just to listen to it over and over again, man, it's just, man, I don't know the words to say about this, but yeah, it's enter at your own risk, I guess I would say.
Man, you kicked this show off right. You said you called it dangerous. That's perfect. I mean, at the time, this band was, I don't want to say counterculture. That seems like an easy thing to say about any rock and roll band, right? I mean, every rock and roll band is supposed to be counterculture, unless you're just corporately sponsored or some nonsense. But, this band in particular, they made no apologies for who they were. They sang about what they sang about. They didn't care if you didn't like it because they were not going to change who they were. They were unapologetic. And they knew the kind of music they wanted to do, and it was in your face, and it had an edge to it. Very punk rock. This band's very punk rock in the best way possible. And I'm like you, man. When dangerous is the word, it's perfect. It just perfectly describes them. And from the aesthetic, before we get into the album, we got to talk about, first of all, how this band sounds. The signature sound of Slash's guitar. Not only that, but the appearance of the band together. The original lineup, Slash with that hair and that top hat, Axl with the do-rag, the sunglasses, that long hair, Izzy with the hat, and you've got Duff over there with like nothing but like a black vest. He had no headgear or anything like that. Nothing he wore. It was just Duff just rocking the bass. Steven Adler on the drums, killing it. I mean, dude, the band itself, you take one look. If you didn't know who they were and you saw a picture of them, you'd say, well, that's got to be a rock and roll band. It's obvious.
Yeah, each member had their own distinctive look. And, I guess you could have called them, bad boys, maybe sort of like the Detroit Pistons of the NBA. You look at these guys and you're like, man, I don't know if I want to mess with them. They look tough, dude. I mean, they were, rock stars, and they pretty much, put that image out there, and it worked. They made rock and roll look cool, kind of like maybe they were the Led Zeppelin of the '80s, But yeah, they were jamming, and Slash with the hair, the cigarette hanging out of his mouth while he's playing, the top hat. I kind of liken him to maybe cousin It from the Addams Family,
right?
Because I when I first saw him, I couldn't see his face, and I was like, what does he look like? I wanted to know what Slash looked like, but his hair was right there, and I couldn't see. And you had Axl Rose, grooving, up on the mic. He had that kind of, I don't know, way that dance he had. He was a really charismatic front man, as most great bands do have charismatic front men. But Axl Rose, man, he just stood apart. And talking about the video the first video they did for the first song we're going to talk about, he had his hair teased up, like the hair bands, and I thought, this is just another hair band, but wow, they turned out to be something so much more.
I'm glad you brought that up, man. That the first video, had Axl with the teased hair. Because, upon first glance, you're like, oh, great, another freaking hair metal band. It was 1987. You're like, come on, man, enough of this crap, At least I was. And I saw that, but then you listen, and you're like, huh, this is freaking great. And this doesn't sound like bubblegum pop metal. This doesn't sound like anything that I had heard in terms of being a serious, straightforward, kind of balls to the wall, bluesy rock and roll. I love that you compared them to Zeppelin. The songwriting is not the same. I mean, I think we can both agree on that. When we did the deep dive on Led Zeppelin 4, we read a lot of the lyrics because they were poetry. But dude, there's no poetry going on in Appetite, man. Like I said, this is straightforward, in your face, unapologetic, unabashedly rock and roll. Excess to the nth degree, this band, especially on this album. And like I said, man, they didn't apologize for who they were, and they put themselves out there, took a chance and said, it's time we broke out. And man, did they break out. And this is going to be fun, dude. I'm very much looking forward to this. And listen, since you mentioned the first song off the album, man, we're going to let you kick it off. Talk to me about Welcome to the Jungle.
Oh, man, I was just thinking today, if it had been their only hit, how some groups, some bands have, they're called one-hit wonders. If that had been their only hit, it would have been the greatest one-hit wonder of all time. The song is that good, man. The beginning of the song, you've got Axl's voice, and to me, it kind of sounds like the law's coming. And
Right.
you're on the run. You're in the car. It's a high-speed chase. So it's like kind of like a movie, maybe Lethal Weapon or something. I don't know, but yeah. And the guitar's building up. You can tell it's getting something. There's something, something's about to happen. Something big is about to happen. And then when Slash, who is a freak on the guitar, comes in, and it just explodes all at once. And from there on, man, it's chaos. It's like anything goes. And right then, it's like you're jamming, man. Like you said, you're moshing.
It's an anthem. Jungle is an anthem, as much as anything we've ever heard from any rock band in the history of rock, in my opinion. And there's a lot of great power anthems out there, dude. Stuff that you could turn wide open and put the horns up and just enjoy it, and not necessarily cause trouble or tick anybody off. But if you did, screw them. They don't understand, right? That's rock and roll. I mean, that's what this song is to me. It's pedal to the metal, man. 100 miles an hour down the interstate. If you get in my way, you're dead. I mean, that's what Welcome to the Jungle is. And it's not, like you said, if this had just been a one-hit wonder, what an amazing one-hit wonder this would have been. But man, it is full freaking blast, dude. But what I love about this song, like a lot of songs on this album, a lot of songs from this band in general, there's such a bluesy undertone to it. And that Slash is playing. That is the playing together of the band as a whole, and the absolute unity that they had as a group, and everything that came through with their sound, the cohesiveness, the symmetry, the chemistry between these band members. This song in particular, this song is Guns N' Roses. For as much as any other song by this band that made a lot of money and spawned a lot of critical acclaim and made a lot of heads turn in their direction, Jungle's it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's too early in the podcast to say this, but of the songs they will forever be remembered for, and there's a bunch of them. I mean, is this their Stairway to Heaven?
I would think so. It's of course my favorite Guns N' Roses song, and it's the first one on the album. How appropriate. Number one. It's like their number one song.
Right.
And it became their signature song for years to come. And it just put them on the map. They were smart. They did a video for this song, and why not? It's fantastic, man. Fast and hard, groovy, man. It just makes you want to get up and just start thrashing.
Yes, and this song was actually on a soundtrack to a Clint Eastwood film, and I remember this song about the same time. Hitting with that, I think, is one of the previews for the movie, I believe it was. And I just remember thinking, wow, that's like I was starting to hear noise about this band. I mean, dude, as we know, this album had been out for a year before it broke. I mean, before it really started getting over, it'd been out for about a year. It kind of got lost in the shuffle with some other bands of the moment. Def Leppard was riding high with Hysteria. I mean, there was a couple of other bands that were doing their thing and really getting over at that time. So this album kind of faded into the background and maybe it was dismissed as hair metal, like we kind of said earlier. But, as these songs started to become more prevalent, started to come to the forefront, Jungle just, Jesus, man, it just jumps out at you. And, I'm sure we've all heard a version of the story about how and why Axl wrote the words to this. But basically from the opening lyric of that song, it's about Hollywood. It's about LA. It's about the idea that you can just get anything anytime you want. And of this song in particular, Axl said, I consider the first song to be the most representative of Guns N' Roses. I wrote the words in Seattle. It's a big city, but at the same time, it's still a small city compared to LA and the things that you're going to learn. It seemed a lot more rural up there. I just wrote how LA looked to me. If someone comes to town and they want to find something, they can find wherever they want. In response to that, Izzy said it's about Hollywood streets, true to life. And I've never been to LA, but you kind of feel like you get sort of a snapshot of the town in this song. And, I'm going to go back to that word dangerous that you used in the opening, man, because that's this song. And the idea of you're going to visit this big city that you've always heard about. But, man, whatever you want to do, they're down. You name it, they got it for you. And this song just checks all the boxes for me, man. It just kills it. It's something you want to get up and you could jam to, bang your head to. It's impossible to have a bad day with this song. I don't know how you do it. To me, it just makes me feel better. You know what I mean? It just makes me either scream or shout or just put a smile on my face. And that's what it does for me. It's just so energetic and just so full of life too, right?
Oh yeah. And you said that you had never been to L.A. I have had the opportunity to go and visit my brother who was in the military stationed somewhere out there, California, and we went to L.A., just for a day. And I was thinking, I was like, oh no, what's going to happen to me? Because I've heard the stories and everything, and it's like kind of intimidating. So it kind of paints a picture, debauchery, stuff like that. You're kind of afraid and intimidated because you're afraid that you're gonna die. It's the jungle.
Right. But yeah, it's that life, like you said, man, the debauchery of Hollywood. Well put. So to me, this is their stairway. I mean, you can make a case for Sweet Child of Mine, and we'll get there, but I think this is the song they'll forever be remembered for. And you know what? Nothing wrong with that, because what a classic this is to be known for. The second track off this album, It's So Easy. To me, a very underrated GNR song. First of all, following Welcome to the Jungle is like following Dusty versus Rick in the main event, in the semi-main event. Good luck following that, kid, because that's, how do you do that exactly? It's like following Metallica. If Metallica's your opening act, how do you follow that? So how do you follow on this album? How do you follow Jungle is you follow with an understated, like an undersung song. He's down low in his register. He's not screaming like he is on Welcome to the Jungle. I think it's the perfect way to follow up that song on this album.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I think it's underrated too. And I wasn't even thinking about, the change in pace there with, his voice. So yeah, it does fit. And I love the bass there at the beginning. I don't know what that makes me think, but that bass at the beginning, man, that is awesome. And I've always loved this song. Talking about the lifestyle of drug addiction, sex, rock and roll. This song is it, man. And talking about there's one line in the song where he says, "Cars are crashing every night. I drink and drive everything in sight." That pretty much sums up the whole song. And, talking about It's So Easy, maybe, people are intimidated by these guys and they're waiting hand and foot, just to try and please them.
Absolutely. And, if you really want to get back to the roots of the song, this was a Duff tune. And the song, actually, as terms of the band at the time, the things they were going through, they didn't have money, but they had a lot of hangers-on, a lot of girls they could basically live off of. Things were just too easy. But there's an emptiness. So there's something deeper to that lyric than it may sound. It just sounds like a good old-fashioned dirty rock and roll song. But there's more. There's something deeper there. There's an emptiness to it. Like, this is too. It's so easy. It's too easy. There's nothing else here of relevance. It's just this is just too easy. And to me, that strikes me as being something a little bit more profound than what you originally get from that. And this song was originally an acoustic, what they refer to as a hippie yah-yah song, and that it was Slash's decision to turn it into a rock song. And they talked to him about alternate tuning and give it a more distinctive sound, saying without open E tuning, that song wouldn't have happened. And that's why the song became what I would say is the underrated hit that it is. And I truly believe that. And Axl says of the singing, I sang in a low voice because that fit the attitude of the song better. It wasn't something I really thought about. I just started doing it. People ask why I don't sing like that on a lot of songs. It's only because I just sing whatever the song deserves. And it deserves being sung different than the other material. It's a hard, tight, simple punk rock song. When I went to England, they said punk's been dead for 10 years. And I said, it's really weird because America doesn't know that. What a great quote. And I'm not a punk rock fan, dude, but I would alter his words a bit. Punk rock may be dead, but good punk rock in terms of musicianship and can sing and can write lyrics and music and actually play the instruments, that's not dead. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it all comes together in this song. And, there's a lot of attitude in this album as well. And this song is full of attitude, man. It's like these guys, they say they're bad and they can back it up. Their lifestyle, they can probably have any chick they want, so it's
right.
It's so easy. But yeah, nothing boring here at all, and nothing boring on this album at all. Yeah, but yeah, it's so easy. It's a good song to follow up. It's like you said, it's hard to follow Jungle, but if there is a song that can do it, it's so easy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, well said. That takes us to track 3 on the album. This is another song. I like every song on this album for the most part. It makes you want to get up and just move. I don't know to do what. I don't know if it's dance or just head bang or punch a wall. All in the best way possible, kids. I'm not advocating violence here, understand. I'm just saying it makes you want to get up and move. Night Train. Dude, the opening line of Night Train, I swear to God, dude, just sounds like an absolute pro wrestling promo if I've ever heard one. And, I mean, I don't know. I mean, talk to me about Night Train. What does this song do for you?
Oh, once again, it's very indicative of the rock and roll lifestyle. Axl's here's, I guess, talking about, the party, the nightlife, party life. It's kind of like maybe, if imagine yourself as a vampire. You're only alive at night and you sleep during the day. It reminds me of like a Slaughter song, "Up All Night, Sleep All Day."
Right.
So yeah, but yeah, it's Night Train. Axl's talking about. I love that stuff. I can never get enough. It's just again the debauchery.
And like I said, man, pro wrestling promo. Loaded like a freight train, flying like an airplane. That sounds like a Dusty Rhodes rhyme, dude. I'm loaded like a freight train, baby, flying like an airplane. Feeling like a space brain one more time tonight. And dude, the opening verse. Well, I'm a West Coast strutting one bad mother, got a rattlesnake suitcase under my arm. Said I'm a mean machine, been drinking gasoline, honey, you can make my motor hum. Dude, maybe I was wrong. Maybe there's some poetry here after all.
I was going to say that, I had to, when you were talking about the lyrics to this song, I'd been listening to it all week, but, I got a mental block and I'd forgotten the lyrics. But, yeah, now that you've refreshed my memory, man, that's cool as hell right there. And I
yes.
I love the line where he says, "I smoke my cigarette with style."
Oh, my God, yeah. Got to put that oomph on it, right?
Yeah, that is a rock star if I've ever seen one, and he's confident. And, he's got that swagger. He's walking. He's like all eyes are on him. He knows it.
Absolutely. Of this song said, Night Train is just like Jungle. Welcome to the Jungle. It's very indicative of what the band's all about. I remember when it first came together, we had hitchhiked to the Rainbow, and we were walking down the Troubadour and just started yelling Night Train because we were drinking it. So that's where the song came from. No, kids, there's nothing deep involved here. Like I said, this is just a feel-good rock and roll song. So there you go. Duff said we were living in the Gardner Street studio, this place where we had one little box of a room. We had no money. We could dig up a buck or two to go down to this liquor store. It happened to sell this great wine called Night Train that would mess you up for $1, $5, and you'd be gone. We lived off of this stuff. So something else that's cool about this is that the band describes this as a song they came up with on the spot. And the original idea for the song came when Slash and Izzy wrote the main riff while they were sitting on the floor of the band's practice room. And by the next day, they'd finished the song. I mean, this isn't exactly Yesterday by the Beatles. This isn't Come Together. This isn't, She Loves You. This is just, it's not exactly, we put a lot of thought into this. Again, kids, you got to remember that this was a young, hungry band, not yet tasting their first success, but on the verge of it. And yeah, man, this was about, for better or worse, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And that's what, in particular, this song was. But, as we talked about with Jungle, there is such a freaking energy to Night Train. And talk about a toe-tapping song, man. Like I said, for me, it's impossible for me to physically sit through this song without moving some part of my freaking body, man.
Oh yeah, you can't just listen to this song and sit there. You've got to, do something, man. It forces you to, jump outside the box and, maybe, become somebody else. Something you wouldn't normally do. It just turns you into a different person. And I want to talk about the thing on this album that keeps reoccurring, and it makes me think of Saturday Night Live, the cowbell episode.
Yes.
Guns N' Roses, I had forgotten how much cowbell they had used on this album, and it's cool. But, it's like it puts me in the mind of maybe Christopher Walken's in the studio with these guys, and he's saying, "Yeah, I want more cowbell. I need it. I need more cowbell, guys."
That's
and
great.
They responded.
That's great. And now, thanks to that, I'll never not see Will Ferrell in my head when I hear the cowbell on this album. So you've done it there. So yeah, but you know what? There's worse stuff to have in your head, I'm sure. So yeah, man, I love Night Train. I don't love Night Train because I'm straight edge and never drank in my life. So get it straight. But I love the song. So if that counts for anything, awesome. So
yeah, once again, this song, is about these guys airing their dirty laundry, right there through the airwaves, through the radio, on your CD, on your, whatever you listen to. They're putting their lives out there for you, to kind of paint a picture in your mind, just straightforward.
Oh man, totally. I couldn't have said it better. So, I love Night Train. I think it's a good song. It's a great song. And I really, for one of it just reminds me of an AC/DC song that maybe doesn't get played a lot, but you always remember it when it comes on, you turn your radio up. That's what this song is to me. So yeah, I just, again, love this tune. And when it's on, I'll listen to it for a second time, which is what I did last night, to be honest. So that takes us to the next track on the album. This is a good one too. And this, dude, I don't know if this one is underrated as well. I'll get your take on it. Out to Get Me. Brother, talk about this song.
Oh yeah. I did a little research on this song in particular. And Axl, it was pretty much written by Axl, I think, where he's talking about his, running from the law, his troubles with the law in the state of Indiana where he came from.
Yes.
And, thinking about that he came from Indiana, when you first see him get off the bus going back to Welcome to the Jungle, he's got a piece of straw hanging out of his mouth, So, I mean, yeah, they're, Indiana boy going to the big city and, kind of getting eaten up a little bit. But, back to this song, Out to Get Me. Axl, I just picture him, being in trouble with the law constantly, trying to evade them every night. He's a bad boy.
Right.
And, he says they can never catch him and they're not going to break him. Even whatever they try, they're not going to change him. He's going to stay the same because that's who he is. Yeah,
well put. And this does talk about songs on this album that kind of show you who the band is. This paints a picture of Axl's childhood, I guess, or, adolescence, I guess you could call it. But yeah, getting in trouble with the law, doing things he shouldn't be doing, living the lifestyle before he even became a musician, evidently. And, being a rebel and being a maverick. And that's what rock and roll is, folks. It's being a maverick and being a rebel. No one ever became a legitimately, fierce and, dangerous rock star by conforming. It's not about conforming. This is about doing your own thing, marching to your own beat, and finding yourself. And I think in some ways, this album is the band trying to find themselves. If I can, maybe I'm making something deeper where it doesn't exist. I don't know. But, anytime you have like a first effort by any band that gets out there, first studio album, then it really is trying to set the tone for the album. And you're trying to figure out who you are, not just as a musician, but as a band and as a man, and who you are as a person. And that's sort of, that's sort of where they're coming from on this, I think. But I love this song. It's got the F word like crazy in it, which, that's okay. But, it's hard to sing it out loud in certain company, but it's all right.
Yeah. And, you just read the title, Out to Get Me, that should make anybody paranoid. You know, some people are paranoid, you know, in general, but you know, if you've been in trouble with the law before, yeah, you're going to be paranoid. You know, anytime you leave your house, you're thinking, you know, they're out to get me. What have I done now? You know, so it's like yeah, Axl, maybe, I don't know, maybe he was kind of a paranoid guy, you know, in a way too. I don't know.
And the song ends with, it does the song end with a, take that one to heart. I love that.
Yeah, I love the way Axl finishes some of the songs. You know, it's like a crude humor, you know, like a dark, sarcastic humor.
Yes, and dude, his voice can do so many things here. I mean, remember, you know, this is when they were still young. His voice had not been shredded. He hadn't, you know, 25, 30 years of work on his voice and screaming in concerts and whatnot. He hadn't had that yet. So his voice was still raw and fresh and powerful and strong and fierce. It's a good word, you know, and doing everything it needs to do. And in this song as well, he can growl, man. Axl can growl, which I always loved about his vocals. And he's doing that on this song as well. And of this song, he said, the lyrics are saying, I've always been in trouble, but I'm still handling it. Meaning, like every time you turn around, someone is trying to screw you over financially, or the cops are banging on your door and you didn't do anything. It's just being railroaded into something and trying to get out from underneath of it. Parents, teachers, preachers, everybody. The last verse Slash and I put together as a joke because we were talking about how we get in fights sometimes and how some people get ticked off that you're drunk. But they're the ones that brought the bottle of whiskey to get you drunk on. Some people say, I got a chip on my shoulder. Can't say it much better than that because young, hungry, something to prove, screw you if you don't get it. That's GNR in 1987, 1988, no doubt about it, especially on this song. Next up is Mr. Brownstone. And for years, dude, I know you've heard the same thing I've heard. We've always been told this song is about the heroin habits within the band, the heroin addictions within the band. Of this song, Slash says, a lot of people have a misconception about this song. They think it's about drugs. It's not so much a statement about our drug habits. It's more a statement about other people's drug habits. It's a good little ditty that people can listen to and maybe think about what they're doing, try and get themselves in perspective. And Izzy Stradlin of the song said it can mean a million things to a million people, different people. It's like when you listen to a Zeppelin song, what do you think? I have all kinds of odd ideas about what Custard Pie is about. It's a good point. And you know, until I read that quote and learned and dug a little bit deeper for this album, I didn't realize that it wasn't about their internal problems with heroin. I mean, I learned something there. But man, this song, Brownstone, to me has such a groove and such a, like if Billy D. Williams sung metal, it would be Mr. Brownstone. Just that real seductive and just sort of silky smooth and, you know, but it's got a jive to it, and it's got a nastiness to it, and it's got a little bit of organicness, like dirt to it. Do you know what I mean? But dude, I freaking love this song, man. What say you?
Oh yeah, I do too. And I kind of felt it was maybe another underrated song. It could have been a song they did a video for, or maybe, you know, released as a single. I don't know if they did or not, but it definitely could have, you know, stood on its own. And yeah, I'm shocked to find out that it wasn't about the band itself, you know, their problems with an addiction. And honestly, when I was first exposed to the album and the song, I thought it was an alcohol addiction, like maybe something like Jim Beam or something like that.
Right.
You know, whiskey that's brown. And that's what I thought it was about, you know, their addiction to maybe a Jim Beam or something like that. So, yeah, but it surprises me to find out, you know, that it's not about the band. It's about the heroin addiction in general, you know, with, you know, the entire population of the world. You know, anybody could, you know, listen to this song and maybe, you know, want to change their lifestyle and be like, wow, this is what I'm doing. You know, I'm looking in a mirror now when I'm listening to this song, and I'm like, this is me. You know, I don't want to be that person anymore, so I'm going to get cleaned up. So yeah, that's a great, you know, revelation to me.
Yeah, and that's a good point, man. Being able to listen to a song or see a band and see yourself reflected in the lyrics. I mean, that in and of itself can mean anything to anyone and can actually help you in the long run. I mean, I myself through the years have seen myself and heard myself in many songs by some of my favorite bands and just been able to listen to the lyrics and find find peace, find the next step, find at least for that time, for that 2 or 3 minutes I'm listening to this song, to close my eyes and kind of figure out, okay, who am I right now? You know what I mean? Because it's just the idea of you're a whole bunch of different people during the course of your lifetime. Who are you right now for the next 10 minutes or 10 days or 10 months or 10 years or whatever? And, you know, something like that can deliver a powerful message. There's no doubt about it, whether they intended to or not. That's what it ended up being for a lot of people, I'm sure.
And I love how they give the addiction a gender in this song. They say, you know, he's been knocking, he won't leave me alone. You know, I mean, that's real metaphorical there. You know, it's like they're giving life to this addiction. And a lot of people, you know, it does become a separate entity for them. You know, they can't control it. It's out of their control, and they need a lot of help to overcome these demons.
Yeah, again, well said, man. I don't think I can top anything that you just hit on. I think there's some good points, and you know, there again, I don't think we're suggesting that this song is any deeper than what it needs to be, but you know, dude, you and I have often talked about pro wrestling and movies and music, basically everything we do here on the show. And a lot of this stuff is just subjective. It doesn't mean there's any right or wrong answer. It's just in how it hits you. That's the great thing about art. Art is whatever you make of it. However you take it is what it is for you. And that doesn't mean it's good or bad. That's just in how you take it. So if you perceive something to be bad, well, it's going to be bad. And, you know, the same thing here. But I mean, if you search for something deeper in the lyrics and you see something else, then that's probably what you're going to find. And so I definitely think that this song has the ability to speak to anyone that might be dealing with something. And it disguises itself as a sweet rock and roll tune. But at the end of the day, it's a little bit something more.
And before we pass this song along, you know, I got to say probably my favorite lyric has to be where, you know, it's like a young teenager, a male teenager, you know, his dad's fussing at him or something, and he says, that old man, he's a real MF-er, going to kick him on down the line.
Yes.
I've always thought that was some good dark humor there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, man. And there again, dude, you took something out of the song, which is what any successful band can hope for. Because any band that knows how to halfway play their instruments can get on stage, call themselves a group, and say they're going to take over the world. But if all their songs are empty and doesn't do anything for you at all, they're not going to get very far. They might make some money. But in terms of songs standing the test of time, is that the audience, and just think about this, dude, each person in each row of that crowded coliseum or outdoor stadium, whatever it is, each person might be taking something different from that song and applying it to his or her own life. So yeah, well said, man. I think that's very appropriate. Tom Clark's 6M podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Every day, Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark's 6M podcast sent you. Listen, I got to get to this song. I've been waiting since we started to get to this song because this song is my favorite one. Because do you know where you are? You're in Paradise City, baby. I love this song. Dude, all these years later, I cannot stop listening to this song. And I can listen to this album all day. Don't get me wrong. But dude, for me, Paradise City, it won't be the song they're remembered for by the masses, I don't believe. But in my head, it's number 2. I mean, to me it is. Dude, I love this song.
Oh, I do too as well. And I'm gonna go with you. It's my number 2 behind Jungle. It has to be. You know, this song is a great mixture of thrash and groove. And, you know, Slash's guitar at the beginning, it was either today when I was listening to it or this morning or yesterday, it made me think of, you know, like maybe Moses and the Israelites coming up on the promised land. And, you know, it's finally here. You
Right.
know, you've struggled all these years, and, you know, you're finally about to enter into the promised land, which is Paradise City to me. You know, the grass is green and the girls are pretty.
Right.
You know, it's just like it's heaven for, you know, these guys and for, you know, probably all other single males.
Man, Like I said, man, I love Jungle. I do. I think it's what the band will be remembered for. I'm sure of it. But on my playlist, Paradise is the first one. I can't help it. I just love the song. And Anthem. It's another anthem. The best rock bands of all time have anthems. It's those songs that you can stand up with guys next or girls next to you that you never met and sing the chorus with them. That's what Paradise is. And it's as much as Welcome to the Jungle defines GNR, Paradise City, I think, does the same thing. And I'll debate that all day long with whoever wants to debate it with me. I don't care. It's just how I feel. Of this song, Duff said that the chords to this song I wrote when I first moved to LA, when I didn't know anybody and was kind of feeling a little down. So that kind of came out, like reaching for something. Slash said the best songs we do, they're collaborations. The best way to do it is to have the whole band sit there and listen to everybody else's ideas and put it all together to make something everybody enjoys playing. Axl went on to say the verses are more about being in the jungle. The chorus is like being back in the Midwest or somewhere. It reminds me of when I was a little kid and just looked up at the blue sky and went, wow, what is all this? It's so big out there. I mean, that to me says it all. It's just the idea of take me home, take me where it's perfect. And dude, I can't believe I'm doing this during this show, but I'm finding meaning in this album. And honest to God, I didn't know it even existed before we started talking about it, dude. But you could look at this song and just, you might be having the worst day of your life. You put this song on, not only does it make you feel better, which is important. That's key. But it also, the lyrics, take me down, take me back, take me home. I got to get out of here. I'm unhappy. This is not what my life should be. I got to get somewhere where I know everything's going to be okay. It's familiar. It's home. It's where I need to be. I can't believe I'm making this crap into poetry, or maybe it's not even supposed to be, man, but I can't help it. Talk about what this song does in terms of transporting you somewhere else when you listen to it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the beginning of the song, before it hits the hard, thrash part, to me, that's Paradise City. But, then you go back to reality, where Axl's singing, real gritty and almost snarling. That's the life that we have to go through, when we leave our homes every day. We have to put up with a lot of stuff that we don't want to. And, it's almost like we're biding our time to get back to Paradise City, wherever that may be. And, it's just, something to look forward to, I guess. Those the best times of your life, when you were the most happiest, maybe with a girl that you really liked. And, it's just blue skies like you talked about. I'm picturing the most serene, beautiful place I can imagine.
Oh, yeah, dude, for sure. And, like I said, this song just, if you will allow it to do it, and you're a fan of this kind of music, this song will take you places. And the great thing about it, Greg, is that it's different for everybody, right? What your idea of Paradise City is, maybe it's not mine. And what my idea is, maybe it's not the other guys. It's just, or the girls. It's just, it's on what it means to you. Again, what the lyrics mean to you and where they take you. And I love that idea. I love a song being a universal song where it can mean a little bit something different to everybody. And it can also be about take me where I've always wanted to go. I've never been able to go here. She's there and I got to get to her. If only I could get there, everything would be okay. Take me down. I got to get there. This sucks. I got to get out of this. I got to get to her because she's the only thing that matters. Dude, call it for what it is. The best rock and roll is about a girl. I'm sorry. In some way, shape, or form, they're singing about a girl. And, that's how it is. It's like the narration of Tobey Maguire in the first Spider-Man. This is a story about a girl. And it's the best way to lead off because that's what it is, man.
Yeah, a lot of times a woman, can be the biggest inspiration because, that's how we procreate. And, we want to meet somebody, who will change our lives forever and, give us that fulfillment each and every day.
Man, you got real deep in me just there. That's good stuff, man. That's what I'm talking about right there. This is a deep dive here on the show, baby. It's what you get when you listen to these deep dives, I promise you. So yeah, great stuff, man. Love that song. We could just done a show about Paradise City. That would have been fine. Do a couple hours on Paradise City, then call it a day. I'd have been okay with that. So I can't help it. I'm just a huge fan of this song. Again, we switched tone. Again, this band, just when you think you got them figured out, man, It's like Roddy Piper, just when you think you've got the answers, they change the questions, right? And he's doing it here. Axl's doing it here. The band's doing it here. My Michelle. And dude, that drum hit, it's like bam, ba, da, 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 da. Dude, come on, shut up. Again, bluesy, nasty rock and roll lick.
Yeah, that's mean, really mean right there. But I want to talk about the beginning, the slow, eerie, spooky beginning. It feels like something ominous is, about to happen, or has happened, and you're just waking up from a nightmare maybe, or you're in the nightmare, honestly, because the dysfunction in this song, man, it really speaks to what some families have become. Because, it's talking about a girl and her parents. It's just a real dysfunctional lifestyle. Something, to kind of fear, loathe, I guess you could say.
Dude, great callback. Great point about the intro. And I skipped right past it. I just want to get to the bones of the song. But yeah, no, dude, you nailed it with that. It does have like the serial killer's in the next room, or he was, and what happened or what's going to happen. That's the vibe it gives off. Well done. No doubt. Of this song, Axl says, I know a girl named Michelle, and she became a really good friend of the band's, and I was going out with her for a while. Slash and some other members of the band said that's kind of too heavy to say about poor sweet Michelle. She'll freak out. I'd written this nice, sweet song about her, and then I looked at it and thought, it really doesn't touch any basis of reality, so I put down an honest thing. It describes her life. I showed her the lyrics after about 3 weeks of debating, and she was so happy that someone didn't paint just a pretty picture. She loves it. It was just a real song to her, not something hokey. So this song has a lot of basis in reality. And dude, that may have been why it felt so real to you, is because it's real. So, nice touch to that. And again, this is one of those songs that maybe you don't go around singing to the top of your lungs in certain company, but it's still a hit in my eyes. And, again, man, it's got that grit. The one thing with GNR, especially on Appetite, is grit, substance, something that you can scratch at, something that has meaning and substance, and you can feel it. Dude, you can totally feel this song.
Yeah, it's got some vulgarity there, but that's how some people are. That's how they express themselves. They're true to themselves, and they're not going to lie to other people. Say, this is me, this is who I am. Love me or hate me. I'm not going to change. And it's just like some families, they may seem a little weird and strange to other people, but that's just who they are. Maybe they can't change.
I can buy that. I can definitely see where you're coming from on that. Yeah, some people are just stuck in a rut, doing what they're going to do, living their life, and they just don't see a way out, or just can't, like you said, just can't change. The next song we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on, because it's one of those tunes where it's like you can talk it to death if you want to, or you can just leave it alone. It's called Think About You. And of this song, Easy said it's a quick love song about drugs, sex, Hollywood, and money. And that's it. That's it, brother. I don't know if I've got any deep, ruminations about this song. But, again, it's another good GNR rock and roll song. I'll say that for it.
I have to say that, listening to this song all week, I actually thought that Axl was talking about a girl, or somebody in the band was, speaking about a girl that they once loved, or, and somehow it didn't work out, but it was, it was a special time in their life, and that, they'll never forget it. It's like, I think about you, it's, you're the one I want. To me, I just thought he was talking about a specific woman, at the time.
Well, I'll say this, in terms of this song, in terms of where Axl's voice goes, again, it goes somewhere different. And the chorus of this song is just, he's got that sort of, he's letting his voice drag, and it's sort of in between high and low. And it's a different register again with this guy, because he was so talented at the time and just killing it with these vocals. And he put a lot of time and effort into the recording of this album, as we know, which probably explains why it sounds as good as it does, especially from his perspective, in terms of how he sounds. But yeah, he does something a little bit different on the vocal here. So I'm all about that. He's showing his range on this song. And I don't have a lot for you in terms of what this song does to me personally. I just think it's a good rock and roll song. It's a good sing-along song for sure, as almost every one of these songs are. You know what I mean? I don't know if you'd call this album full of anthems, but it's close. And
Yeah.
I think this song fits the bill.
And another thing, just occurred to me. This song kind of, gets a little bit of positivity in the midst of all this chaos and other stuff going on. It's a little bit of positivity there, especially if you're talking about a specific person in your life in the past sometime.
And that takes us to what for a lot of people is the power rock ballad of all time. Forget hair metal, forget everything that came after it. For a song that's classified as a power ballad, Sweet Child of Mine. Not Sweet Child of Mine, Sweet Child O' Mine. Okay? And again, a sing-along song, one that when you get the guitar riff in your head, forget it, game over. It opens with Slash. One of the most famous guitar riffs of all time, dude. Kills it, nails it, destroys it. And as I said, memorable, highly memorable. When you get that, dude, if you get it in your head right now, Greg, you won't... There's no forgetting. You'll have it in your head for the next hour, right? That's how the song is.
Oh, yeah. It's like if a kaleidoscope had a noise or could make a noise, I think that Slash's guitar at the beginning of Sweet Child of Mine, that would be it. I mean, it just, it's almost like going through a tunnel maybe or something. I don't know. Yeah, but it's definitely memorable. You can't get it out of your head once you've heard it a few times. It really just like magnetizes you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it drags you in for sure. And I defy even the toughest rock and roll guy out there, with the tattoos and the hair and hadn't showered in a couple of days and thinks he's tough as nails. I mean, this song will get to you, man. It'll immediately make you think about your girl or about the girl you want or the girl you had. And I don't know what it does for women. I've never really asked. It's a good question to ask sometime. So maybe some of our female fans can hit us with that little bit of knowledge. What's this song do for you? Because I can tell you for sure, for me, it makes me think about a woman. And this song it's all encompassing. You get sucked into it. And good luck turning it off. Once the song starts, I'm not turning it off. I can say that about almost every song on this record, but especially this one. Sweet Child of Mine starts playing, I'm going to let it finish. And no matter where I hear it, it's going to finish before I walk away. Because that's how it does. It's a song that sort of demands to be listened to, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, and it's for me. It's got to be number 3 on the album. Of top songs. I mean, I can see why they did a video. I mean, and they really paid so much tribute to this song because it deserved it. And it's talking about the sweetest, kindest, warmest girl you could ever meet. Man, just like it melts your heart. You don't want to see her in any kind of pain, as he says. She's just the perfect woman, and you're just so lucky to be with her, and you'll do anything for her. It's just like at the end, he's talking about where do we go now. It's like, it's like, yeah, it's a big question. You obviously, for some reason, you don't want this to be over anytime soon or ever. You want this to be eternal.
Yes. And if you could hear that crack of thunder just now, I think it's a nice touch to the review of this song, because it's like, sort of that feeling that it's very elemental, right? And it just sort of grabs you and just doesn't let you go. Of this song, Axl says, I had written this poem, reached a dead end with it, and put it on the shelf. Then Slash and Easy got working together on the song, and I came in. Easy hit a rhythm, and all of a sudden this poem popped into my head. It just came together. A lot of rock bands are too effing wimpy to have any sentiment or any emotion in any of their stuff unless they're in pain. It's the first positive love song I've ever written, but I never had anyone to write anything that positive about, I guess. Again, another deep statement from this guy, who you would kind of view as being just one-dimensional, troublemaker, rock and roll guy, drinking, boozing it up, drugs, all that stuff. But no, there's something more to this guy than what appears to be. And yeah, one of the greatest rock love songs of all time, in my estimation.
Oh yeah, and I don't know if you could call it a ballad, because it rocks as well. When I think of a ballad, I think of just like a slow, mushy song. Yeah, it's okay, but this has got some, just a little bit of teeth to it, not much, just enough to let you know that, it's just not, it's deep, like you said, and, it really really puts you in the mind of like the sweetest child of mine. I was
Right.
trying to say something else there, but yeah, that fits perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just the fact that this says more about Axl than what you see, on the outside. There's more to this man than what you thought you knew. This guy, he has a tender nature as well. Yeah.
For sure. And again, this song's a classic, and a lot of people would definitely make it their favorite GNR song, I would dare say. But I'm with you. I think it's the third best song on this album. We're going to wrap up this album review with a trio of songs that sort of they're ending this album, I think, the way a debut rock album should end, because it's just flat out rock songs. And the first of the trio's You're Crazy. Again, not a song you might want to be singing in public around certain company, but dude, try not to turn this thing up when you listen to it. It's impossible, because this song is so much fun. And, don't get too crazy with me on the lyrics here, people, because it's just, again, it's a rock and roll band. You can take this stuff and make something out of it, or you can just leave it the way it is. It's up to you. But man, what a fun song this is, man. What's your take on this?
Oh, when I first heard it again for the first time, in years, I was listening. I didn't look at the name of the song. I was just listening, and I was thinking, wait a minute, I know this song from somewhere. This reminds me of something. And they had done an acoustic version of it on Lies, their EP Lies later on.
Yes.
Which, that's a really great version of it, too. I don't know which one I like better. I think I kind of like the acoustic version better. But, yeah, I mean, as soon as I found out, I was like, cool, it's crazy. And, yeah, you can't sing all of the lyrics, because, I mean, he dropped some F-bombs in there. But, hey, it really drives home the point. This woman, this girl that you're with, she's effing crazy, and, you need to get her out of your life because she's ruining it. And, I love the fast-paced style of the song. That sometimes I really love a fast pace, and this was just so well done, the way it turned out.
And of this song, Slash says, when I play this song, I don't even know what I'm playing. It's just such a kick. It's just such a kick for me. So I run around. I try to concentrate on the music and keep kind of stationary, except on that song. I don't play the same solo every night because I'm not on the same wavelength as other nights. So it's not, I don't think it's a song that, like I said, they don't put a whole lot of thought into it. They just kind of play. And, every band needs that fun rock and roll song that's just straight up rock and roll. Maybe there's no message to it. Maybe it's not about a girl for a change, and it's just, or maybe it is. Who knows? It's all on how you take it, right? But I don't know, man. This is fun. This is Fight for Your Right by Beastie Boys. A fun, tap your foot, bob your head to it, turn it way up, way loud. Just a fun song to sing along to. Again, depending on who you're in front of, right? But man, I dig this. I really dig this song.
And I think Axl had a lot of fun singing this song, because somewhere in the middle of the song, you can hear him kind of laugh sarcastically. And I know it's maybe nothing really, major. It's simple, but I love that laugh in the middle of the song.
Yes, for sure. So we're going to wrap this album up with the last two songs, Anything Goes and Rocket Queen. Anything Goes, of this song, Axl said, we used to do it so fast. Then we wrote another version about our times at the old studio, and we kept that for a while. But then when we came down to record it, we didn't want to. But Tom Zutaut, who was the Geffen A&R man, was very adamant about wanting that song recorded, so we figured we're going to have to rewrite it. In pre-production, we came up with something we liked a lot better, but the verses weren't written until the night we recorded the song, which I love those stories that this song wasn't even going to be done. We said, we're not going to do it. And then they write the lyrics the night they record the song. That's good stuff, man. Give me your thoughts on Anything Goes.
It could be the anthem for the album, because the entire album, Appetite for Destruction, Anything Goes. It's like My Way, Your Way, Anything Goes Tonight. So, yeah, it's kind of like another party song, I guess you could say, where, it's just like people are out there, they're doing their own thing, they're doing what they want to. No inhibitions, no restrictions there.
And this song reminds me of You Could Be Mine. Just the tempo and the tone and the sound of the song really reminds me of that one. And as we know, that song was recorded but didn't make the cut for Appetite for Destruction.
And doesn't it have like a really bluesy kind of beginning to it, I believe, if I recall?
Yes, and now I'm going to have to go back and listen to You Could Be Mine.
I wasn't even thinking about that, but you're right. It does, sound similar.
Yeah, in fact, it does. It's got a mean bass line at the beginning. Yeah. One of these days, man, we might have to do the Illusion albums. That would be a fun show. Do a part 1, part 2. Use your Illusion 1 and 2. That might be fun to do.
Oh, yeah.
See, just like GNR, we're going to write the show as we record it, people. What do you think about that? So,
on the heels.
Yes, hot on the heels of Appetite for Destruction, Tom and Greg decided to record Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. So yeah, I'm with you. Again, it's a song. It's more or less a statement about the band, whether they mean it to be or not. Anything Goes kind of wraps it up in terms of what this band is, who they are on this debut studio album. And we end the album review with Rocket Queen. This song is, like we said before, this song is older. And we covered that in the intro to the show. The song had been around for a while until they finally fleshed it out and made this a real thing. Axl says, I wrote this song for this girl who was going to have a band and when she was going to call it Rocket Queen. She kind of kept me alive for a while. The last part of the song is my message to this person or anybody else who can get something out of it. It's like there's hope and a friendship note at the end of the song. For that song, there was also something I tried to work out with various people. It was somewhat spontaneous but premeditated, something I want to pull on the record. And he's talking about a recorded sex act. So you mentioned this in another show that we did, and he flat out admits it here. So, dude, did you know this was legit?
Well, I didn't really know what the song was talking about, honestly, but yeah, to find that out, it kind of drives home the point of, who these guys were at the time and, just indicative of teenage adolescence, altogether. And I think this was, the right song to end the album on. Yeah, it just feels right to me. And, when Axl, the change in the song, the changes in the song, man, it really catches your attention, and when he says, here I am, your Rocket Queen.
Yes.
Oh, man, I love the distortion. There's a bit of a distortion on his voice, and I love that. To me, that's something simple, but it's really powerful.
And I think you summed it up right there. This band on this record, they do what they need to, but they don't overdo it. Like the best rock and roll song is best when it's simple. Do what the song is asking and don't do anything else. You can overproduce, which, eventually led to the band splitting up to begin with, was that Axl wanted to take it into a different direction. Axl wanted to work with Moby. No disrespect to Moby, but Moby's not exactly a GNR kind of influence when you wouldn't imagine those two guys working together. But he wanted to take the band in different directions. He no longer wanted to keep it simple. He wanted to overproduce it and make it a big theatrical production. At least this is how I took it. That's how I've always heard it and seen it in my head for years. And the band didn't want that, especially Slash. He's like, we're a rock and roll band. What is this stuff? And, I don't want to talk about the fall of the band. They've since gotten back together, and that's good for them. But, this band stayed apart for a long time, and all we had were our memories of this band. And, I like to remember them. I love the Illusion albums, Greg. I'm not going to lie to you. But at their best, Appetite is them at their best. Did they get any better in their careers than they did with this album? Be honest.
No, this was the zenith of their career, and I think most people will agree. I know my brother, he loves Guns N' Roses, and he has more of an affinity for Appetite. He kind of changed his tone about Guns N' Roses with, the Illusion albums. He's kind of weird that way, but, I like the Illusion albums too. I thought they, was a good little change of pace from Appetite. But yeah, for, just that, headbanging, thrashing style, Appetite is tops for Guns N' Roses.
Absolutely, dude. They're heavy metal, they're thrash metal, but at their core, they're punk rock. And they're melodic as well, but at their core, they're rock and roll. And rock and roll could be just about anything that it needs to be or wants to be on a certain day. And that's what this band is. They're straight up, full throttle, in your face, unapologetic. And we repeat the same things, Greg, throughout the course of this episode, but I think it bears repeating. This is a classic rock and roll band. And dude, I'm with you. I think this is them at their finest. This has been fun. I've loved doing this, and trust me, folks, we got way more to come on the deep dives because it's becoming my favorite thing to do on the show, Greg. I'm not kidding. So we're definitely going to do this again. Yeah,
I really enjoyed this show. I thought, I'm kind of like you. I didn't really know if we were going to, see any kind of deep imagery with, Appetite for Destruction. But, once we got started talking about it, I started thinking about, the songs and the lyrics, and, it's like there's more to Appetite for Destruction than meets the eye.
I couldn't have said it better, man. I mean, I think that pretty much covers everything. So, while I love talking about this, there always comes a point to take it home. We're taking it home. So if you can, brother, give me your final words on Appetite for Destruction.
Oh, like I said, I'm going to end the show the way we started. It's a dangerous album, but there's a song by another group that I listened to, before Guns N' Roses called Rat. They have a song titled Dangerous But Worth the Risk. I think that is Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction in a nutshell. And this has gone down as one of the greatest albums ever in the music industry. I mean, and that's saying something because there's been a lot of great albums out there to be mentioned. With names like Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. It's just these guys. Of course, I know they're proud of what they accomplished. They accomplished something with Appetite, in such a short amount of time than most bands do, and for years, maybe their entire career. I mean, they hit everybody in the mouth with this album, and I don't think anybody was, sorry about it. They enjoyed the punch, I believe.
There's no doubt about that. For sure. And it came at the right time. Like you said, fans enjoyed it and people enjoyed, they loved it. And it couldn't have gone better if it had to. And I'll leave you with this. If you want to know what kind of impact this band had at the time, if you're too young to know firsthand, go to YouTube and look up Guns N' Roses Live MTV Awards 1988. It was the first time I ever saw GNR on television. First time I ever saw them, period. And the energy they did Welcome to the Jungle on that stage. And dude, they killed. They absolutely killed. And that is a lasting image. I watched it again today. It's a lasting image in my mind that I'll never forget. How a lot of the people in that crowd didn't even know what to do because they were, and I remember at the time watching it in 88 as it happened live, and I thought, I love this. And the fans in the very front, like the mosh pit area, were loving it. But everyone behind them were just kind of sitting there not knowing what to do. And I thought, perfect. That's what this band is. Uncomfortable is the wrong word. They're not there to make you uncomfortable. They're there to say, well, you just heard all those other cats. Here we are. And we play loud and we play fast. And this is what we do. And again, as I said, screw you if you don't like it. That's GNR, baby. But more importantly, that's rock and roll. And that is Appetite for Destruction. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6M Podcast. We'll see you next time.